Time for another stream? Go. Let's go. Let's go. Right. We left off about to investigate the scene of the crime. With the Scotland Yard detective Tobias Gregson. Let's do it. I seem to like this guy's just vibe so far. I mean, come on, look at him. I think I already presented this to him. He said it's worthless here. Oh yeah, I did that at the end of last stream.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organisation you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet.
It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in the duty of protecting the city.
Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being the London Bobby's hard going, I can tell you.
Oh really? Really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the labourers on his beat so they can get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep, raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit.
I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles? That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama.
On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
No electric street lamps.
Classic.
Oh my!
And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well.
And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly. More alongside. But yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. It's with a heavy heart. I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruto.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. This guy's eyebrows, man. I love it. His blinking is so... It's got like so much to it. It's such a heavy blink. It happened around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago. Just there, on that open bit of pavement.
And if it's the middle of winter, it'll be pitch black at that time.
The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind.
See, I'm thinking, given the defendant's story, all I can think of is that it was a throwing knife. It is right that the lady is Is it right that the lady's still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. And this was before the NHS, so this is paid hospital.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes round pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's yard policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept.
Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it?
Well, I know that Mr. Natsume is also claiming to not have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
It's what?
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less.
I love the cone of fish and chips as well. Oh my god. This character is something else. I didn't expect this character to be so good. Ah!
It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them.
There were witnesses now.
That twitchy Japanese blight goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole.
Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean?
There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though.
He has that typical pessimism, too.
It is all a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper, he hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yeah, why did he take his leave of absence? It must be related to the overarching plot, surely. Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, sunshine. Yes, a young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So, this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell you what's going on inside the head of the Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it. There have been lots of Englishisms with this character already. I love it. I love it. Just phrases and stuff. Who are the witnesses? Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife. And the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
Ah! A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching them banging the act and all.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. The policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspect, I hear that it was Mr. Sholmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The colour is drained from his cheeks.
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure that was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle.
Ah!
The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble.
Ah!
Ever seen this before?
Oh yes, that's Ranted magazine. The wonderful publication which the adventures of Sholmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sholmes tale at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the Scotland Yard investigator in Sign of 4. I can't remember. That had no, not Atlee. Wait, what's this music? Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
Clearly the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective.
Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes, what is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
We've got to go to Baker Street. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even.
So how? It's Baker Street.
How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. 221B. 202.
Yes, 221B, right? Not 221B. I don't know. No, it's 221B.
The most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We'd better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable.
Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage.
So we're to have a reunion already, with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Not yet, though. I did all of this side. It's not different now that he's here.
Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals.
You're very well informed, aren't you?
It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London.
Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then.
But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Did? Still, if that's the only way, help me find a good stone.
No, I wasn't serious. Bobby number 1. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons.
I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern.
Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I've found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on.
Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all.
Ugh.
Hee, what a delightful snowman!
I didn't realise the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though. Let me look at what a Japanese snowman looks like then. It's going to be different, right? In the island of Hokkaido where it snows. Japanese snowman. They give them the little fez. And it's just two. Maybe I'm. They do it one. That one's one lump. Seems like some of them are just like one lump with carving. But it's like traditional. There we go, traditional. Yeah, it's like the fez one. Let's compare it to this one. Looks a little creepy though.
Oh, it has a scarf look.
You'd need one if you're out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one.
I'm I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment. We certainly can't afford a scarf.
It can't be that expensive. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his.
But the person who made the snowman certainly would.
Yes, I know. You're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Where was it? Like here, I guess? Right. I feel like it has to be throwing knives. There was the corner here. Okay, so there is this corner here. So as he's walking down here, and the victim in front, someone can be like behind this wall, I guess. Or in this bush. Behind this tree. Or be a throwing knife.
Police are investigating, even in this biting cold. It seems we can't meet with Mr. Natsume at the moment.
Oh.
He's being briefed about his appearance in court tomorrow, apparently.
I see. Yes, the trial is only a day away. Alright then, let's come back later.
Yes.
I really hope he's not answering any more questions with inappropriate textbook-like answers like, yes, I do.
Can we really visit, do you think? Oh, pinch me! I'm sure I must be dreaming.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
Good day.
Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock's Showers.
This is a very classic scene. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. What is this thing? It's not the investigation theme, it's just like a default casually theme. Or is it Susato's theme? Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san?
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. Never read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down the unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So, if you don't mind... I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a little while longer. Please don't mind me.
She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home?
Oh, do we have a visitor? Hello, is it a new big case, Mr. Sholmes?
Hello. Wait, aren't you...
Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
Sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case.
The King of Bohemia?
King Wilhelm Gottschrick Sigismund of Ormstein, of course.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over here.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you.
I knew it, Susato, so I recognised her too.
Ah, there you are. And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGildy's trial in the defendant's antechamber.
I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Or you having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London.
Oh, yes, it was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that colour?
Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavour. Hooray, it's a winner. I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Ow, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us, by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely?
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth did she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me! I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley.
Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Rono. Got it. Susie.
And Runo. There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
take that! Iris, can I show you this?
Oh, how exciting! What is it? Tell me all about it.
Oh, actually, I was hoping you might be able to tell me something about it, if anything comes to mind.
Why would it?
Well, no, I suppose it wouldn't.
Tell me, tell me! I want to hear everything.
This hasn't gone according to plan. Iris, could I show you this? I can't help myself, I'm sorry. I just want to see if that's triggered anything anywhere. No. What's the bonus investigation achievement in this case? Let's have a look. Or it might be in the trial, who knows? Shovels and spades, ladders and step ladders. Having read every new idea on Iris's blackboard. Examined the violin before talking with Iris about the Wilson topic. That's good that I was going to examine things first. Ah, I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it?
Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's often explained in the stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational. I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find.
It's a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London.
Oh yes, well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I could only practice when he was out of the house. So, now it's merely an ornament in my room.
That must have been an awkward conversation. What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine?
That's the great analytics scope. It can analyse anything really, anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analysed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh.
Why not?
Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyse. Oh dear.
So he doesn't just sit in here smoking crack, at least.
How about you, Runo? Do you have anything like you'd like to analyse?
The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I haven't seen before. Apparatus, I'm not American. It's all heaped up so high, I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment.
I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much on those shelves.
Good advice.
He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in, he couldn't get it out. So he went and brought a new copy instead. What's that, VR? Oh, there's his pipe. Or one of them. A goblet. Just paper strewn everywhere. Brilliant. There's nothing else in the lab area. This is Iris's blackboard, so let's have a look. Oh, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Ooh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter? What does that mean? Saltpeter? Maybe it's gotta be like a chemistry thing, right? I'm trying to piece it, I don't know. Don't you want to hear what the Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll come back to that blackboard later. Maybe every time you come in here it has something different on it. That's a charming little white shelf, and it's full of charming little bottles too. Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Explode? Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And as Hurley always says... What was that in the Japanese version, I wonder? Surely doesn't make sense. I don't know. Chemistry is an explosive science. Sorry? I agree. A single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world. Or perhaps you just meant it literally. Either way, mental note. Do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Napoleon? Ah, what an entrancing collection! This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases. The sign of the four, maybe up there. Not sure. Really? Even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. The poor defenseless emperor. Mr. Sholmes destroys it? Yes, and then he buys a new one. You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. Ah, how entrancingly bohemian of him. Is this poster? What on earth is that big lump over there? Hang on, this blackboard, did they not bother to translate it from Japanese? Why is this like this? Ah! Oh. Ah! That fascinating thing is called a typewriter! Oops. $10. Of course. A degree in medicine. Of course. A fascinating thing's called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quickly too.
Ooh, that sounds like it could be very useful to someone like me with terrible handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Though a kanji typewriter is kind of absurd. What a beautiful English tea set, and so neatly arranged.
It's a favourite pastime of mine, a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea made of herbs. That's right, I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden, so I can experiment with different blends. One moment, don't go away, I'll brew a pot of the special blend I came up with earlier today.
She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink.
Pitch perfect as always from me.
It looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock.
Mr. Naruhodo, you shouldn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, that chest contains some of my most valuable things.
And that smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we've arrived in the country. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Oh, it's so relaxing.
We can't relax, not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories.
It is?
Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example. Are my chocolates for 11s? And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. Oh, it's not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Poor Susato-san, she looks crushed. Wait, I didn't... Oh, I did. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it, at the Old Bailey?
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this? Ah, thinking back now, you left with Mr. Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologise to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock. Herlock Shames. We live here together.
I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that the lodgings of any kind... Oh. Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind are in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommate?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. Wonder what the story is there.
Oh yes, there is something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I am a very great fan of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Ranst magazine. Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Ellie's always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he solved on a steamship travelling from a faraway land. So I was in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call this latest adventure The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... It's a story! Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say that the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Ranst magazine? Oh, written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
Tsusato-san's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Oh, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes?
Poor Tsusato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Are we not gonna bring up the Wilson that was, you know, the victim of case 1? No? No? Okay. About before.
Yes? What's on your mind, Reno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer? And that we'd just arrived in London, I mean?
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'll be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh,
So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me that you were unaware of London's court affairs.
Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah! I use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realise. And the red stamp is only used for visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you have already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
Oh,
She's actually better than Sholmes.
but how could you have known the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Early solved yet another case. This obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume.
Mr. Natsume! Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit's called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it's clear to me that you both came from Japan yourselves. I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man early court. There is only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You even managed to certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery.
Oh well, I was just copying Early's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended the Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes. Earlier, just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking stooped man running away from the scene. short, shifty-looking stooped man.
Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. So Seki-san said before that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. It seems there were witnesses after all.
Early used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room, very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking stooped man, shivering in fear.
Ugh. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Early says that London is rife with crime.
Oh,
Scotland Yard's doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realised the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating trade cases and trying criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is, but in that case, how can it be the greatest? I don't hold out much hope for Susaki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. It's been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about the case as well.
Ah, well, I expect Hurley's still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Nuts. Oh, May? Early Mr. Natsume? Early said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Oh, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'd tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece on a postcard, it seems.
5 bob? How much is 5 bob worth? I'm going to keep doing this every time there's money. $1900. Five bob. £20. Basically 20 quid. It's not enough then. Why is she giving him 20 quid? 5 bob.
It reads, tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. Oh, that's the wrong voice. Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to write my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making some more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand.
To be continued. I think I'll leave it there for this stream. Investigation part 2. Oh, I didn't re-investigate the violin. Oh well. Rip. Alright then. I'll leave the stream there.